Hey guys, hey people of the world, welcome to Open Conversations with Nesh, a space where we celebrate authenticity through meaningful conversation. This is another episode that I'm glad to have because it is the second episode I'm having with Bosire. We started off with his journey, how he kicked off everything, how his faith helped him progress through everything, and the life experiences he had, up to the point where he met Reuben Kigame. So I'm super excited for this talk today because leo niko na maswali nyingi Bosire. I have a lot of questions to ask you, especially as a youth asking a pastor. But I'm going to leave the floor to you. You can continue where you left off. Reuben Kigame.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Mr. Reuben Kigame, as I said before, I started working with him after being in Youth for Christ. He's the one who requested me basically to come and work with him. I don't know what he saw in me, but he said he'd like me to be his personal assistant. And that required somebody to read for him materials. He's blind, so he needed somebody to read for him. I think he was also enrolled in a university.
Were there other people who actually wanted the job? He decided?
I think it wasn't advertised.
So he decided that it was you that he wanted.
Yeah, I think maybe he was doing. You would have realized, like, this is the second time people interview me without me realizing. So I think that's what may have happened. You can find him and ask him.
I definitely wonder.
Because I worked with him closely when we were recording the album for Ombilangu. So working with him, being sent here and there, seeing what I do, maybe that may have been the interview. Seeing how I do things, how I respond to things. Personally, I wasn't thinking that I'm a standout person in terms of somebody that stands out from the crowd. I think that's also one thing that is surprising to me every time. I remember in class 4 in Toy Primary School, one of the mornings, our class teacher came and said, "Yeah, Bosire, stand up. From today, you are the class monitor."
Just like that?
Yes.
Evil too.
And I was never somebody who stands out in the crowd.
And actually, personally, from like watching you and how you conduct your Bible study, you're not a person who's going to come and steal the spotlight. You're not the person who's going to like enter a room and steal the show. But in a low-key way, you kind of do.
Okay.
So somebody has to be very, 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 very observative so that they can see the strengths that you have. So I'm guessing that's what he.
And that class teacher. It was a surprise because I was not top 10 in the class. I was normally in the middle, 20 something out of 40 something. So there was no reason why I could be a monitor. And the same happened when we went to my shags, like I said in the earlier part. One of the mornings also, the headmaster came and he had a bell in his hand and a clock, a small table clock. Said, "Yes, you come. You're the school bell ringer from today."
Just like that. Yes. Never did an interview. People just spot you out of nowhere.
In high school, in Form 2 also. I think it was the deputy principal. Also appeared on the door with a clock and a bell. You're the bell ringer. And I don't consider myself somebody who keeps time. So if you ask my wife, she'll tell you I don't keep I come at least 1, 2, 3, 4 past the time.
Oh, African timer, typical African timer.
Yeah, I was a bell ringer in high school and also in primary. And then also in Form 2, towards the end of Form 2, I was a politician. I mentioned earlier with one of our guys.
I see it in you.
And so in Form 3, I was an activist in our dome. I was not even living in that dome, but I was having a say in what was happening in the dome. Yes, I was a refugee in another dome. So I don't know how it happened. I can't remember the details well, but there was an election done, which was the first time elections were done to elect a dome prefect. And I won.
You won.
It was boring. I resigned actually. The year didn't end. I resigned. It was too boring. I have to ensure everyone is out of the dome. Lock. No. I resigned. Yeah, that's basically why I say Reuben Kigame, I don't know, but like many other people before, they were seeing in me something I don't see in myself.
It's a trajectory you saw ever since you were a kid.
Yes.
It's something, it's a pattern you observed.
Yes, I tried to disappear from from the public. So he asked me, and then I went back to for Christ. Asked my boss, a very good gentleman, who was called PJ Cooley. He was an American. He came to Kenya. He had a big impact in our lives. Also, the team that was there at that time. He said, all the best to release you. You know, you'll grow there. Go and serve. So I went and started working with Kigame as his PA. I was that's the first time also I moved out of home. Now I had a job. I was being paid.
Where was that? Where
that
you
was
working?
In Nairobi.
Oh, that was in Nairobi.
The offices, when I accepted to work for him, he had moved to a place called Airport View, and they stayed the office there and their home. So from Kibera, I used to go there, but now after I got a job, I think this is amazing. I was reading the book of Acts, and then the last chapter 28, the last verses. There's a phrase that Paul, I think that was in Revised Standard Version. Paul lived in his own rented house.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I read that one morning, and I said, I want to have my own house. So I talked to my dad. He said, you can have your own house. You can move. So I bought a few things, and I moved to Ngara.
How old were you at that particular point?
20. When did Kibaki come to power?
2002.
Yeah. So I was 22.
Oh, you were 22 years.
22. So I moved out to stay by myself. It was a good experience. I enjoyed having my own house, coming back home.
To yourself?
Yes, there's no one in the house. I have to cook for myself. But I think shortly my brother came to stay with me. He had finished Form 4, so he got that's 2003. He was joining Nairobi University, so he came to stay with me. So at least I was somebody. So I used to commute from Ngara to near Wilson.
Oh, Wilson Airport, yeah.
I remember that because there was a time we walked from Ngara to Wilson. That was the time when Michuki insisted that matatus have to follow the laws.
Oh,
I remember that's one of the things that reminds me.
He brought back order amidst the chaos that was happening.
So working for him, reading, as I mentioned earlier, the reading helped me pick up reading for myself. I was reading very hard books, C.S. Lewis and those kind. Wasn't understanding at first, but later I understood what I was reading. And one of the first books that caught my eye was a book called Unshakable Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
We read it once and I discovered, wow, this is interesting.
By Norman Geisler. I remember that was you gave me that book.
Yes,
you also gave me that book.
If you've stayed around me for some time,
most likely. I think it's an initiation period. When someone gets to know you, they have to get Unshakable Foundation.
That's an awesome book. It helped me think and know that there's a process in thinking and you can make mistakes in thinking. Which is one of the things I think I learned from that is before even you answer somebody's question, try and see where they are making the mistakes,
where they're coming from,
their reasoning. So that is one of the books that helped me. And then there's another book that's called The Art of 5-Day Course in Thinking by somebody called Edward De Bono. That book also helped me a lot. It's 5 experiments to test your thinking and you try to help you to understand where you're making mistakes. Awesome book also. So those 2 books really helped me. And get into start
to understand the faith.
Thinking.
To understand the faith.
No, not even the faith yet. To notice that I can make mistakes in my
thinking.
Reason. Yes. So that was just thinking.
Understanding the laws of logic, law and contradiction.
Etc.
I still remember.
So that reading, I picked that one and I started reading by myself. I started looking for materials to read. At that time I was still not sure which church to go to, but I had mentioned earlier, I settled on Karura Community. The book I read also about Seventh-day Adventist that Kigame gave me for that. That also helped me to clarify issues on why there's a theological heresy in making the Sabbath the main thing. That's another story for another day. Okay. Then Kigame, in 2004, somebody, I don't remember the story well, but somebody was relocating from Eldoret to Canada. And this person specifically wanted to he had built a very nice house here in Eldoret. So he wanted to leave the house specifically to a ministry.
Wow.
He didn't want to give it to somebody. Just wanted, if it can be used for ministry, that's the first priority. Kigame got to know about that. So we were interested, and then he gave some price for the house. Very nice house. So Kigame and a friend of ours, one of the staff, came, took pictures of the place. There was a bit of fundraising. And then that 2004 August, Kigame and the family moved this way. Back in Nairobi, they moved in August, and I had been asked by Kigame whether I should consider coming to Eldoret because I was a Nairobi person. And I was wondering, with this young
kijana wa Nairobi hataki kutoka ka Nairobi.
So he asked me what I think about it, so I continued thinking about it. So August, we have a camp. We had a teens camp or something at our church in Karura. So I'd gone to be a facilitator in the teens camp somewhere in Limuru. So when I'm in Limuru, I get a phone call from the wife. Bosira, where are you? We are going. I said, where? Eldoret. I said, okay. Actually, I had to tell my camp director, now I have to go to Eldoret. So that was the first day we were reporting that day. I had to go. Pack my things. They went with my things, and then in the evening I boarded an Eldoret Express to Eldoret. Eldoret, I arrived, I think it was midnight or something like that, or beyond that. So I was standing in opposite police station. They were asking, where are you? There's this opposite police station, there's this house called White Castle. Yeah, and from that time, that August 2004, I've stayed in Eldoret. So this is my 20th year.
20 years? You've been in Eldoret for 20 years?
Actually, this is the place I've stayed the longest.
In your entire life?
The longest, yes. Because Nairobi, on and off, maybe 14. Kisii, 4, something like that. Yeah.
The interesting thing about you and I is like, actually the places I've stayed in Kenya is Eldoret, Kisii, and Nairobi. I've been in Kisii a couple of times, but in weeks, I've been there for only weeks. I came to Eldoret in 2020, end of 2020, 2021. And during that period, I was also in a place where I was trying to find out why I believe what I believe. So I came across C.S. Lewis in 2020. So after I came, and then a friend of mine introduced me to your Bible study, I was like, okay, this guy, we have very, very similar, we have very similar stories, because I also did not want to leave Nairobi. City boy, I knew that my life would be there. Oh yeah, kama si Nairobi, perhaps go abroad.
New York.
Yeah, New York. If not Nairobi, New York. But God eventually made me come here, and then we eventually got to meet.
Yeah, Eldoret is a good place. I think one thing I realized, I didn't like it at first because it was very cold.
Yeah, the weather. The first year, the weather hits you hard. It hits you so hard.
And after getting beyond there, actually, Eldoret grows on you.
Yeah.
And I remember there are times we used to have meetings in Nairobi. I rush to Nairobi and then come back. I make sure that the program I do, whatever I'm doing in Nairobi, has to be done quickly so that I'm here by 10 latest. So I go early in the morning, 10 p.m. I'm in Eldoret.
I think also right now I'm obsessed with Eldoret. I go to Nairobi, I'm thinking about Eldoret. I think one thing I love about Eldoret is the community, the togetherness that's there. Because in Nairobi, it's about the hustle.
The pace of life. Here you can think.
You can think. Yeah, in Nairobi, you never have that.
Good. Yeah, so in Eldoret, I continued to work with Kigame, 2004, 2005.
So like you had a ministry in Eldoret. Like, okay, now
the ministry moved.
You've reached Eldoret.
Everything moved from Nairobi to Eldoret. So his family, his ministry, now the base was in Eldoret. The wife was one of the people who made our work very easy. Was the wife. She was called Mercy. She was so open when we moved this way. Trying to settle in the financial issues here and there. She's one person a lady, will tell you, we are two guys who really liked eating. The salary has delayed, and she knows we need some food. She'll come and tell you, guys, I don't have money yet, but you go to my kitchen, find whatever you can make use of, make use of it. One of those guys, the one we moved into Eldoret, was a friend of mine called Ronald. He was a driver. He was the driver now, official designated driver for Kigame. Very funny guy. Ronch, we called him Ronch. So Ronch, very funny. So one day he's a ghetto guy, somebody. Ghetto kabisa, Eastland Sea. So one day with a friend of ours, they went to the fridge for Mrs. Kigame, and they ate food. And then later, Mrs. Kigame is saying, "Oh, somebody ate the food for the cat." And then they were saying, I said, that was tasting off. That guy now, that guy is a PhD guy.
Wow.
In America.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so ministry went on. Most of the ministry was going to schools, universities, music, preaching, weekend challenges.
So high schools also?
Yes. Actually, through Youth for Christ and through also working for Kigame, I think I went over 200 schools. And I think all the universities. Yes, remember Egerton.
KU,
there was a debate, I think. So, yeah, sometimes people who meet me now think I've never been involved in mission, going to schools and that kind of thing. But yeah, most of the weekends we were out. And we had a car that was a Toyota, what was it? G-Touring.
G-Touring.
So we used to call it gangster touring. We went to places with that car. I also grew through that exposure.
That exposure. I actually wanted to ask you, like, what did you learn from that? Because, like, I expect that Mkomna feel kama celeb.
Yes.
Touring everywhere like
with
a celebrity.
With Kigame. And people, I remember even coming, when we came to Eldoret, we went shopping for a church. So, me and Ron.
We went shopping for a church.
Yes, round. We didn't know churches yet. We went looking for which church to attend. We went to a few churches. The first church we came to actually was Sirikwa. But he said, let's see what is also on offer.
Yeah.
Went around and then decided, I think SPF is good. Let's settle here. And when now Kigame also started coming to SPF, people are thinking I'm his child. So,
but he was a spiritual father, isn't he?
Yeah, in a way, yes. He's helped me spiritually. So that link, being so close to the family, people think I'm part of the family, but I'm an employee. Yeah, that kind of thing. It was helpful, I think, and moving away from home, being exposed to Christians and high level Christianity, the one that is ministering, and that helped me pick up ministry and the heart for especially young people, because most of the missions for Kigame were young people.
Young people. Yeah. That's why you grew the love for like young people. You decide who is young.
Also
people.
From Youth for Christ. Because also it helped me personally. I saw the need for ministry for the young people. And getting one thing I appreciate is that I got to get the answers. I got to understand the answers to the questions of faith, logical, scientific answers that you can build your life on. That was a revolution. Before that I used to think this Christianity thing is just shaky. Don't even question it. It may fall. just keep it.
Yeah, just keep it. Just believe what you've been told and don't ever ask the questions.
I come to realize the God that we serve is so big. My questions won't threaten.
They don't. Actually, I think he loves when we ask those questions. Because also me in 2020, when I went through that, why this faith, it grew even more deeper. Because I found out that there are answers to everything, and just not that answers, but answers of the heart, the answers to your heart.
One of the programs we were doing with Kigame was called "Come, Let Us Reason."
Come, Let Us Reason. I love it.
So from Isaiah. So that was a program title. I was doing a program for some radio, I think, so that in itself, just even that verse, God is saying, "Come and let's reason together." I want this God now. I want a God who can reason together. And that's what I've confirmed so far. Then Kigame started a radio station. We had applied for a radio station. Very some time back. I think early 2000, late 1990s. But the license didn't come until I think 2006. Yes, so we were allowed to have a radio station. Frequency allocated. Remember, I had done journalism, but I had not practiced journalism for 2 years, I think.
But I was okay, in high schools, you are practicing in a way.
I wasn't
Speaking in front of people.
I
Oh, you
wasn't
weren't speaking in front of people?
No, I was his assistant. So helping him prepare, move around, plan some things.
Oh, okay.
Once in a while, yes, he would use me to, if there's need for my involvement, but there was a team also of musicians. I was not even part of the music team officially. I was just mainly the staff. So, but Youth for Christ had given me the opportunity earlier to speak before young people. I remember one instant, we went to St. Mary's in Nairobi. And the YFC national director drove me there. We were the two of us. So we went with the van for the ministry, dropped me at the gate. I thought he was coming in so that he's the one who would speak. Said, yeah, there's a class from 6. You're the one speaking, I'll come back for you.
So that was the first time speaking?
Yes, yes, that was the first time I was left alone. The other ones, I was sitting in, so I could be asked a question, I respond. That's easy, yeah. But now this was for, I think, 40 minutes. This is me with Form 6 guys. One of the guys in that class it became a celebrity later through Big Brother something.
Big Brother Africa.
One of the guys in that class. So I went and spoke to these Form 6 guys, and this is, at that time, I had just finished Form 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So these guys are slightly older than me. They're Barbie guys, big guys. It was scary at first, but I think God helped me. After that, one of the guys came. I think he looked at me, so this guy needs fare. I didn't have fare.
Oh, I remember you saying that story. Yes, I remember that story.
And the guy, our director said he'll come. So, but the guy was asking, "How will you go?" I don't know. My director is coming. Guy gave me 1,000 shillings. Whoever you are, thank you so much. That was helpful. Yeah. The radio station I started, so I started again now. No, actually, before the radio station, I think there was a passion for young people in me. Actually, I resigned from Kigame's place to start Youth for Christ in
Eldoret.
Yes. So, but the Youth for Christ didn't pick up. I had written a proposal, the office in Nairobi didn't respond. So I had already resigned, trying to do youth ministry, and things didn't work out. So, but in church here, SPF, I'd already been involved in a lot of youth ministry. So that's what got people to know me, through ministering to the youth, hanging out to the youth. So I got to a place where I needed rent. I don't have rent. I don't have anything. One of the elders in SPF called Fred Obai Kuka. I told him one day, I don't have a job. I don't know how I will pay. So he looked for me a job in Reply. Reply Limited.
Reply.
And I was, I normally joke, I tell people I was a polypropylene enumerator.
Okay.
You know that?
Nah, I don't, nah.
My work was, one of the things that Reply produces were the gunny bags, gunia. Yes. So those ones, scientifically, the component
that makes
polypropylene.
Yeah.
So I used to count them. When the machine counts them, I count them. So I'm a polypropylene enumerator. And what I remember from that time is
you made it very sophisticated.
Yeah, I had the least joy ever in my life. I never used to wake up looking forward to going to work. I was suffering. Yes, there's money, and then there's a promise of even becoming promoted.
Serious? Yeah. Like it had everything you ate from it. It made you survive, or made you even comfortable a little bit, but you never had the joy.
No joy completely. Waking up, going to work was wow. And then I realized actually I'm not a ministry,
a corporate guy.
Yes.
Yeah. You and I both.
I got to learn that practically. So one day we were in church, a friend of mine talks to me, called Dan Baraka, says, he was just talking, I don't remember even what we were talking to, and then he said, the joy of the Lord makes rich and adds no sorrow. A light went on in my mind. Yeah, I'm making money, but there's sorrow. But this is not of God. So I resigned actually from there also.
You resigned, when you resigned, do you have a next plan? Did you have a plan B or anything? No. You just resigned, Hivotu?
Yes. Still I can serve in church and God will open a door. And then I think the same month, Kigame started the radio station.
Ah.
So he called me. And the good thing is when I left, I didn't leave badly. And also the things I learned. When I'm leaving a place, just live in good terms.
Yeah.
So we still
Even if it's a
communicated.
corporate job that you don't like,
Just live in good terms.
amke
Waribu.
when do I boss taki job, I'm gone.
Think so they took me in now as staff number 1 for the radio station. It had not started officially, so they were now putting things in place. So the first job I had in the radio station was to wake up every morning from suffering going to reply. Now I was waking up every morning to listen to music the whole day. That was my job. Basically, I was creating the library for the
music library for, and that's why in our Bible study sessions we say there's really good Christian music out there.
Yes.
It's just that we haven't found out.
Yes. Because I listened, Kigame had a very wide collection of music on CDs, tapes, and vinyl disc. Vinyl disc. So I listened to every.
This is 05 or 6. 2005, 2006.
Yeah, that's 2006. I listened to all the music he had, and the idea was choose the best songs, and then title them, because at that time there was no YouTube.
Nafaa nipewe hiyo kazi. I need if you are somebody out there who's hiring a good playlist, I am.
So that's how I learned to use video. I learned to use Windows Media Player to title, to rip whatever quality MP3, whatever. So that's what I used to do. Listen, and then now that's how I got to know music. Now I don't know how God works. So that now I'm forced to sit down and listen to music, and I'm being paid for it. And I enjoyed the process. I got to learn new music, new artists. And I, up to now, I have a good sense of what music can make it in the if I listen to a song the first time, I can tell this one is a hit.
This one is a hit, or this one
that one is a miss. I remember, but that was not there before, because when we were recording on Bilangu, even Kigame himself, and Anasi was not a top song.
And Anasi is a hit, bana.
For us, even the team itself, we didn't think that would be the song that people would like.
You never thought that song?
Actually, it's I think one of the last ones, either on side A or side B.
But those are one of the songs that I love. Yes. I don't like most worship songs, but when Ndanasi comes on, it just moves my heart.
Because there's a school.
Ndanasi is a hit.
We went to a school somewhere in the Rift Valley, Ukambani, and we've gone for a mission with Kigame. Then the school, their anthem for the school was Ndanasi. And that's I think 2 or 3 years after the song. Okay.
So during the first period, like you didn't see how the song was.
No, it was not standing out in any way. The other songs were feeling. These ones will get somewhere. But I think after now going through the exercise of listening to the songs and cataloging them and making the library for that, I think one of the things I also learned from Kigame is to have self-initiative. You know, he's blind, so he can't help me do the cataloging. How do I decide which folder to create? So I had to come up with all those things by myself. So I came up with the folders, African music. Inside Africa, there's Kenya, whatever country there is music for that. Asia, yes. America, rock, nini, what. Nowadays, sometimes I get somebody in their hard disk. They have a folder of their music, and inside I can tell this is music. I'm the one who catalogs it. And there are songs that only Kigame had. So when I hear it somewhere, I know this one. I know where it came from.
Wow.
And when I confirm the way even the titling was done. So that happened for I think 4 months or so, or 3 months before the radio station officially opened. I think in August. That was probably in April or something like that. So when the radio station began, I was given a role to do some programs, and another surprise from Kigame. He told me to do music I had a program on classics, classic Christian music that
was classic, old Christian music, in short,
So that's a program I did. That was during the day. At night, I'm doing a youth program. So music for the old people. And some people could not relate. I'm the same person during the day. Because during the day I used to say, my name is Basile Benson, welcome to Fish Classics. And some people used to think I'm old. So I remember when we went to another church and the wife of the pastor goes, "You're Basile?" And I said, "Yes, I am disappointed you, but I'm the same."
So the radio station was called Fish FM.
Fish FM.
What to Eldoret, Fish FM. I was not there when Fish FM was there, but it was a big deal.
It was another level.
Yeah.
I think creativity and all those things were there.
Wow.
We enjoyed ourselves. When the staff enjoy what they're doing, it comes out. The youth program, I used to call myself now chaplain. And when I'm a totally different person from the serious person during the day. I was one of the stations, the first station to do news in Sheng.
Serious?
Yes, we used to do news in Sheng. 9 and 10 p.m. There was news in Sheng.
And I love the fact that it was a Christian show, but at the same time, because when there's something you feel, you hear Christians something, there's no creativity. It's just old people saying. When people hear Christian, they imagine SDA singing.
Maybe that's what caught the public.
Yeah. So you guys are super creative.
Yeah. Maybe I should play for you some of the things I recorded during that time. I didn't mention also, when we were in Nairobi still, I recorded an album with friends of mine from Youth for Christ. Kigame was doing music for an album on that was promoting life, choose life.
Pro-life.
Pro-life, yes. So he asked me to do a song, to write a song. I did a song. The song, he laughed the first time I told him the title.
What was the title?
I Smoke Fish. Basically, it was saying, instead of smoking cigarettes, I should smoke fish.
I should smoke fish.
I should smoke anything. Fish. If I drink, let it be chai. It's a mix of Kikisi and Swahili and English. Yeah, you like the song? We did that song, and then I redid another version of it. In that new version, I did other few songs with friends of mine. One of those friends is DJ Soxy.
DJ Soxy.
We were in Youth for Christ together. And another one he's now a pastor, Sassino, Pastor Sassino. And some friends of mine, one of the producers was a guy called John Otana. Otieno, but we used to call him Otana. And then just our Youth for Christ people, we had fun making that music. So in a way, music also was part of me a bit through that time. So the registration picked up, went on well. It was a lot of work because we were not many, but we enjoyed ourselves a lot. And then I realized also the equipment was coming also. It is radio equipment. I've never seen radio equipment, transmitters and all those things. But it will come, and before the technician comes, Reuben will tell me, just open, let's see what is inside and see what it looks like. So I had to learn on the job some of the things. Computers also, that's the transformation for computers that during that time. There was the move from DOS to Windows. Now Windows is becoming popular and things like those. So a computer comes and I have no idea of how it works. I have to figure out how these things work. I had to learn the hard way. Even the studio producing, there are times Reuben wants to do a song and the studio person, the sound person is not there. We'll come at night, that is 11. Boss, come to the studio. We'll stay there until 3 recording. And I'm the one doing all those things. Now add -2 decibels. Okay. Now remove what highs. So I had to learn also those things by force. But he has an awesome ear, Kigame. If I tell him, if he says reduce by -2, he'll tell if I've not reduced. That is a very tiny difference. Now add this one, add here. Remember one of the nights was when we had an invitation to State House by Kibaki.
Wacha.
To sing. Yes.
Serious?
Yes. So Kibaki Reuben was invited, I think, for after one of the ceremonies, Jamhuri Day or something.
Wow.
To go and sing at State House. There are two groups normally. There are those who go to the stadium. There's another event in State House. So Kigame had to do a song before the day. So he composed a song, we recorded it tonight. So I'm the one there recording the whole night, and then tomorrow we travel to Nairobi. I went to State House with Ronch, a friend of mine. So we were in State House. That was my first time to get into State House.
Was it umefika State House?
When,
I told you last week you're an important person.
When Kibaki came, he came greeting people. So Ronch was joking and saying, yeah, when he comes, I'll tell him, my name is Ronch. Who are you? We thank God. Those are opportunities we got. I think I would have never gotten to go to that place.
And there's a verse actually that says, when you're skillful and you're good at what you do, you'll meet kings. So that was you tasted the fruits of skill. Kigame. You associated with someone who was
So
skillful.
The radio station, sadly, I think it was 2008, that 2006. Kigame's wife passed on. Tragic thing. Remember, we got the report. I was one of the first people to be told. The wife had traveled to Nakuru. That morning, the wife said goodbye to us. When she was leaving the gate, yeah, guys, goodbye. And in my heart, I felt, this is different, but I don't know. I didn't think about it a lot. But later I was thinking, there was something different with that goodbye. Then we got a report later, there's an accident. Somebody going to tell Kigame. There was a friend of ours called Levi Kones. I was working now, he was the PA. He went to tell Kigame, and they went to Nakuru together. The accident had happened. Now in the evening, waiting for the children to come, they had gone to school. Now being told their mom is no longer there. That was painful, I think, for the children and for us. When the funeral happened, there's one of the chaplain for Kapropita girls at that time. We had gone to missions, that school a lot. So he knew me. A very godly man. He came and asked me, I know sometimes people forget guys like you, but take heart. We understand, we are praying for you. I think that was important, because most people will come to family members. But this is a lady we had spent 5 years or so working together. So she was very close to us.
Wow.
But, that guy was very, I think God sent him. So the funeral and all those things, very sad, and all those things finished, but also it affected the radio station. I think from that, she was the financial mind.
She was the financial genius behind the radio station, Fish FM.
Yeah, she actually did accounting in college.
Wow.
So she was the one making sure everything is balanced. So after that, it was a bit hard. The station,
I would imagine.
Yeah, so sad. They had to sell the frequency. Yeah, but before it closed, actually, I moved now. Youth for Christ started. Youth for Christ started.
God opened another door after a window closed.
Yeah, so Youth for Christ opened. Now there was funding and there was everything in place. I was asked to help start. They sent somebody from Nairobi, a lady called Anne Indiazi at that time. She came, and then she started basically Youth for Christ. I was helping where I could. And after some time, I was full-time also in Youth for Christ. I was now, I think, still my ministry was among young people. That is what I came to realize.
So what was your seat, or what was the position you played in where you were UFC?
I think assistant coordinator, because the lady who came was the coordinator. She had been sent from the office in Nairobi. But her getting the office for us to get an office where she needs to stay, all those things, because I was the person on the ground, a Youth for Christ person, and I understood a few things. We set up everything together. The Youth for Christ at that time was awesome. I think there are many people who went through that Youth for Christ. One of them is behind the camera. And the fun part was to see young people come, and they're naive, they are afraid, but after some time they have confidence, and they've bought into the love of Christ, and they can grow themselves. And when they go, one of the amazing thing, people come to Youth for Christ and they can't go back to their church and sit. You can't. I don't know how it will work.
There's usually a transformation that happens.
If you go since Youth for Christ is not a church, don't have Sunday services. So it's weekly meetings, and then people go to their churches. So we find that most of the people, when they go back, they start serving the youth ministry by default.
And I think that's one reason I've loved Bible study, apart from having a Sunday service where you just hear a pastor preach. Sitting down and talking about your faith and talking about the challenges you go through is more impactful. Especially for the youth.
Yeah, it's true.
For the youth man,
because personally I benefit. On Sunday, the message is to whom it may concern. But when you are seated somewhere and you can ask a question, a clarifying question, some problem, the question that has been lingering in your mind, and then it comes up at that time, that helps, because that eliminates one more hurdle in your growing closer to God. Yeah, so remember, it's in Youth for Christ that the Bible study you are talking about started.
Oh, okay.
That approach, that approach actually, because we were looking for how to engage the young people. And remember, one day we had been introduced earlier in Nairobi to John Coulson. So I liked the way he was doing verse by verse through, I think it was Family FM at that time or some. So I got to know there's a way you can read the Bible verse by verse and make sense of the story and help people to understand how this fits into the whole picture. We decided to try that approach in Youth for Christ. One Thursday, remember the Bible studies were on Thursdays. One Thursday, we have put chairs around the room, and we used to avoid putting rows. It was a circle. We put the chairs, and the room was quite large. It was supposed to be a sitting room of a normal house. So the chairs filled. I think there were 25 or something chairs. Then the Bible study is beginning at 4. 3:50, all those chairs are filled. The people who've come are young men. Not a lady yet.
Young men.
Those are 20s.
That is one difficult stand to pull off in a church.
They are 20s.
My boys are good at church.
Yes, in their 20s.
Men in their 20s, not old men.
Yes. So when I'm there, that's when, for the first time, I felt there's an impact that this approach is having.
Wow.
That if these young people can come earlier than 4. 4 is when the Bible study is beginning. But they are for 3:50, the place is full. Yes.
Wow.
So we maintained that one.
And this was not practiced earlier, like no other church or Christian organization practiced this stuff. Having people say verse by verse exposition.
The only that I knew was that John Coulson program on radio. Otherwise, around, I had never experienced that kind of approach. So even myself, through John Coulson, that's how I got to know and also try to implement it. But also, one thing I realized is reading the Bible, doing a lot of reading before helps when now you're doing verse by verse. That you can still connect any verse to the rest of the Bible.
Oh yeah.
It fits in the whole story of the Bible.
There's a psychologist I like, unamjua, Jordan Peterson. He calls it hyperlink. The Bible is the most hyperlinked book where you can link this verse to this verse and to this verse,
awesome.
Which makes the Bible really, really awesome.
That's awesome. That's true. That's very. I can confirm that. That's the whole thing about verse by verse, because and that's even answering questions. Not like I know a lot. It's only now maybe the good thing I'm good at is linking. That hyperlink.
Wow.
I can take this from this place and
this place.
This has been mentioned elsewhere. With this perspective. So these are this one this way.
And this I think is what makes the Bible stand out from the rest of the holy books, because it's different authors but with one message, and you can see how this linked with this other, because those people never got to meet.
It's true.
It's true.
So that continued. It was a very it continued that weekly, and then when that happened that way, so the rest of the programs benefited from the Bible study. So the foundation was the Bible study. And guys were themselves, we come, we pray, we sing. The singing was awesome. We didn't have any instrument. But the hands and people are, young men.
Wow.
Singing their
parts. Was it really men or kuja? Like, was it a supernatural thing that happened? Like, why was it that the men were the ones who showed up at that
maybe it's God. God was at work.
Yeah,
and then we used to go also for missions a lot. So the missions Youth for Christ were thorough. I think if anyone went to a proper Youth for Christ mission, they can serve anywhere, anytime, anything. Because in Youth for Christ, one of the rules was unwritten. You can't say you can't do anything. You've never tried. So you have to try first.
You have to try first?
And then you tell us where
then tell where you Actually, before you go on, I love what you said earlier about the authenticity. I think what the Christian, I'm just trying to understand why it worked at that particular point is because the Christian space was not an authentic space.
Yeah.
I think for your space, people just felt that they could be themselves. That's why I've been very, very passionate about this show, an authentic space.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Remember, every question was being asked. Young people, they'll ask every question, any kind of question, and they could feel they can ask it, and they have the freedom to ask it. And because everyone is asking, we get to the point where we're feeling, all of us are learners. We are learning.
We're learning from each
other. And if one of the things I learned earlier on is, if I don't know the answer, I'll say, I don't know that one, but you can research. I believe there's an answer.
An authentic answer.
Yeah. Because there are things I don't know. I've not crammed, memorized everything in the Bible. So there are many things I also don't know. But if I should be honest to say, that one I don't have. But most of the questions also because of being involved in missions during Kigame time and in Youth for Christ when I was a volunteer. Not many questions are new. Many questions are just young people are asking questions. Other young people have been asking all these other chats.
They're just different questions.
Words.
They are different words, but the same question.
Yeah. So being able to understand, this is the same question being asked by this person at this time. That made it easy. There are truly very few new questions. That's one thing I can say because
nothing new under the sun.
It's true. And the truly new ones is because the context has changed. So there is an issue. For example, now we can talk about AI. But still, the Bible has an answer for that.
For that, yeah.
Because it's not a surprise to God.
Yeah.
So Youth for Christ continued, and remember, during the post-election violence, we were in Eldoret. During that time, my church also, SPF.
Eldoret was a hotspot. I remember it was not. It was.
Now
the things that happened in Eldoret were catastrophic.
Yeah. 2007 January. My dad called me and said, my sister was with them in Nairobi. And my dad called and said, your sister, I think she was staying with my aunt in Langata Barracks. But my dad felt like maybe being away from Nairobi can help her study better. So she came to live with me. She was going to class 5. Yeah, class 5. So she came to stay with me. My sister is the youngest. Between me and her is 15 years. This was a surprise. Hey! One day I went home, I was in Form 1, I went home, and my mother had a baby. So first to the shock, how now do I relate to this one? The last born before my sister now was 5 years. So between my brother, the one my sister follows, there's a 10-year gap. Didn't have a child. Now there's a child. It's a girl. The rest of us are boys. So even when she came to live with me, I was more of like my dad to her than a brother.
Yeah, for sure. That age gap is just...
Yeah, so it was also challenging at that time to stay with a small girl, still hustling, trying to find my feet. But God helped. And I remember one of the fears was, how will she go to school? Because my parents also were not able to pay the school fees at that time. I went to one of the days, I went to SOS, asked for permission. She joined the SOS minor school. And amazingly, first, second term, she tremendously improved. She performed very well. Let me mention this one. In our family, actually, I think I'm the one who's the dumbest. My brother, the one who follows me, was in the newspaper.
Serious?
Yes.
Hey, okay. So
this is my sister now. When she did Form 4, she had an A. Yes, just A. Like me, I got a B minus. This.
Yeah, I can see. And I'm so glad that you're open with it.
It's not a competition.
It's not a competition.
It's for them also there.
Umekubali.
Yeah. So staying with my sister helped me also grow up. I think I learned now to take care of somebody else.
Yeah.
that maturity came.
So it made you a dad before you became a dad.
Yes. Challenging, but she was disciplined most of the time. Not a problematic child. She liked studying, so reading was a thing. Remember a friend of ours, alikuwa ameanza job, so he's not established well. He came to stay with us. A friend of mine called Fresh. He's Fred Ochi. And God sent him because now he was a teacher. He had finished university. He was doing education, so he's becoming a teacher. So he came to stay with us, and he helped my sister a lot, especially in mathematics. Remember my sister, she used to wake me up in the morning to tell her what time the clock is saying. So I had to sit with her one day and tell her, ikifika hapa, unaenda shule. Actually, I was a night person. I used to sleep midnight kwenda huko mbele. I start working from 10 to maybe
I think all creatives, I don't know, maybe this is something that people can disagree with. Most creatives wanakuwaga night people.
I know I've changed. Maybe.
Because we became a dad.
Yeah. So, she finished class 8. She did very well, actually. She went to Moi Girls. She is now in America.
Wow.
Yeah. Very helpful. She didn't forget.
So God used you staying in Eldoret to enhance her.
Yeah. The reason I mentioned that because
career.
2007 is when she came.
Yeah.
2007 December when the post-election violence happened.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah. She was in the. She had gone for the holidays in Nairobi, but she came back. That school was opening in January, so she came back. I think a week before the election or something. So all the things that were happening while she's at home. So my greatest fear was if anything happens to her. Remember one day, there was insecurity elsewhere. Leaving town to go home, I got mugged somewhere near my girls. They took my everything. There was no matatu. They took I had to talk to them to leave me
SIM
my
card.
trouser.
SIM card. What is SIM card? ID?
ID they gave me. ID. And then I pleaded to leave my trouser and my jumper. They took my t-shirt was new. It was a new church t-shirt.
Ilikuwa siku yao. That was their day.
I saw one guy actually with my t-shirt in town one day. So, so I went home and I didn't want my sister to see me in this state.
You're shirtless?
Yes. And barefoot. Remember I met some policemen up the street, off that road, Kapsea Road. So I think they looked at me and said, this mad person is going on. Just let him go.
Let him go. Wherever he's going.
No one disturbed
me. That's an interesting experience.
I managed to get into a house at least. I could get into the bathroom before getting to the sitting room. So I got into the bathroomish and then came out. Yeah, just to try to protect her. And I saw terrible things. I remember there was an organization that asked me to do photography with them. Also, I did some photography. My journalism in Kenya Poly included photography. So one of the guys is an organization called Open Arms. A friend of ours called Tom was leading it at that time. So he asked me to do some photography for him. They were trying to take in children who were left orphans. So I went around taking photos. So I saw gory things.
Yeah. Gory things.
Yes. Yeah. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I would imagine.
Schools opened. Our college, I was in, my church sent me to a Bible school called Discipleship. So I went to the Bible school one of the afternoon, I think, still the station.
Which church were you? After you were the radio station.
Now I'm in Youth for Christ, but also in church still I'm serving.
Sirikwa, you joined SPF, yeah.
So I was sent to Bible school. I think the pastor also saw that there's potential here.
It's amazing how people are just seeing your potential and you don't even see it in yourself. Everywhere. Monitor, prefect.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name. Okay.
Yeah, so living at that Bible school, I did 1 year certificate. It was, I think because of the experience I'd had, the exposure, the Bible school was boring. I knew more than what I was doing.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So I don't blame the school, but for me, those were boring times. Now, what I learned to make the days less boring, I used to bring problems to the class. So ask questions that will stop this boring part and get us to argue.
It was wengine wasema we don't want peace, we want war. Ukiona kumetulia, you just create chaos just to feel the adrenaline rush and everything.
And I started a business for graphic design. When now I was in Youth for Christ. I started a business for graphic design. So the name Mkristo Flani
actually is a cool name.
I'd used it.
That's when you pick a shout out.
I'd used it for
that's a really cool name.
For my music, the music I mentioned, that recording. That's when the name started being used. So when I started a graphic design business, so I automatically Mkristo Flani Arts. So I did a few things, and that was awesome. I think it helped me pay some bills. Even my sister, part of the
so it worked. Your graphic design ilianza kujipa.
At that time, we were the two main graphic designers in Eldoret were me.
Wow.
And the Babao was the graphics, Joseph.
Yeah. He still does it, Ama?
Yes.
Shout out.
That was a
Joseph graphics, whatever.
He bought the machines for printing, so I used to do the design support to his place to print. So I benefited from the graphic design, and one of the reasons also I learned graphic design is because when Fish was starting, Reuben asked me to do without asking whether I can do it or not. He asked me to do to do a logo for Fish FM. So I had to learn.
You just had to.
Yes.
Wow.
So I had to learn a program called Macromedia, Fireworks. Later, I don't know what it became, and then design by it.
But was it like as I'm doing this interview with you, I'm realizing you're not just a Bible study teacher. You're a full-on creative. Graphic design, radio, kila kitu, branding.
I think sometimes you'd rather have one talent, like an athlete. You know you can run, only don't. When you have so many, you don't know what exactly to pursue at one point. But sometimes what I've realized is there are seasons where graphic designers put bread on my table.
Wow.
There was a season that photography actually put bread on the
table. You actually also did photography, which is kind of a cool thing too.
At the time also, just being a journalist put food on my table, doing radio. Yeah. So it's God who knows why has given you or me those gifts.
And I think that's why, I would argue that's why you resonate with so many young people. Like that's your field, because most young people wanakuanga creatives, they usually want to go through that before the corporate job kills the inner child in them.
You become a cookie. Cookie cutter. So finished that 1 year. Then my sister left, but also now by that time dealing with Youth for Christ people, my house was, I moved now closer to town. My house was a stopover for people who are going to Nairobi or people who have come from Nairobi. You stop over at a serious place, you find your bearings and then go. There was always people. I don't remember when I slept in my house by myself.
So you're a people person too?
By default, I think.
By default?
Yeah. So many young people came.
Was it because of the YFC thing, Ama?
YFC, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are young people you are mentoring, so it's good to see you in your home. Part of it I learned from Youth for Christ also. Let your doors be open. One thing I used to tell them, there's no food. You guys know, and most of them are responsible actually. When they come, they find dirty dishes, they'll wash. If there are 4 or 5 of them, they will not ask me for money. They'll changa and buy food. Yeah, most of that happened. A lot of good happened in that house. We thank God for that. Then that's when I met my wife. I had some. Yes, another story. If I go that.
Yeah, that's another story. That's another story. You try.
So maybe one day we talk about relationship. I'll mention. So I got my wife sometime after that, and it was by God's design. So a lady comes to say hi to a friend of mine, Bruce, and then I ask her, "Do you have a boyfriend?" She says, "No." I said, "Can I be a boyfriend?" If you talk nicely, okay. So I started talking nicely. I asked her, "What you?" I told her to call me. I gave her my number. That woman is my wife, very beautiful lady. Thank God that God chose her for me.
I've got to meet her, and she's very sweet, very feminine too.
So I think that was God's choice for me, because I'd had some terrible.
I remember we mentioned we'll go into deep when we were talking about relationships later.
So basically that is my life before the kind of life currently that I'm living still. I think where God leads is where we go.
So like, how did you become an official or had a position in the SPF?
Church. Yeah.
You need to
That's a
mention
good
that
story.
before we close off.
Now, after getting married, I continued in Youth for Christ, but now the funding that we used to receive stopped. So I had to now fully fundraise. At the same time, that's the same year I was getting married. So we didn't have money. But this Youth for Christ, people who don't have money, they came up with the idea, and I think, I don't remember exactly how, but they took the budget for the wedding and they broke down the items into small. So there's an item line, 1 crate of soda, 467. Somebody say, I'll buy a crate more than a soda. Somebody salt is 10 bob. That's mine. Now all the things that are under 50, those are mine. So we had a wedding, mostly funded by Youth for Christ, people who didn't have work or jobs.
Wow. And the audience watching, this is the power of community. I'm a big community person. This is the power of community.
Remember the evening before Saturday, now the wedding is on Saturday, we had a balance of 60,000 still to raise. The committee was trying to see on what can be removed. For us, me and my wife, at that time, my fiancé, we were at peace. We had said, whatever the money is, that's what we'll use. Actually, before that night ended, before saa sita usiku, all the money was in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't have money in the bank to say, now, this is for wedding. My wife also had just moved into town. She didn't have any work. So we started that way. And then, so the design business helped a lot at that time also. I got to also meet there's an Indian guy called Shabir, a friend of mine. He started Baker's Point around the same time, I think, earlier on, I think. Then he was the first person to do print out cakes and things like those ones. So he got to know about me. I started helping him to do printing of the cakes. Now that was new technology, printing cartoons for children on cakes. That also helped a lot. And a few friends of mine, there's a friend of mine called Amunga also. He bought a pickup and he needed a driver. I started driving for him around. So, one of the other thing that helped me to know Eldoret was that pickup, because he had an events business, taking tents and chairs to places. So, was it the tents are needed in some place? I don't even know the name. The Isuzu Tafa. So I got to learn a lot about Eldoret through that. So there's a time also driving actually put food on my table. And I thank God for that. So our church, during all this time, the constant thing is that I'm part of SPF and I'm involved in youth ministry. That the whole time, whatever is happening, still I'm in doing youth ministry. And then one day, our best couple told us to he had been at a church in Eldoret. So one day he's leaving, and then I think he mentioned our name or something. So the guys approached me and asked me to be a youth pastor in their church, a different church from SPF. So when I came to tell our pastor, this church, they've asked me to go and become the pastor, and I'm thinking about it. I just finished the story. Okay, which church? Okay, I told him. And this is Pastor Rick. I think that was early in the morning or some day. I don't know what happened, but that evening I was called. So they took me in as an intern at that time.
So are they paying you? Interns wanalipo wa church?
Yes.
The audience that wants to know.
Not too much, but yes, you're paid a bit. A bit. It could help. At least there was something constant. We met Dubai. The problem was now that I couldn't do my business fully. So that was, but the money is also not enough on the side. That was a bit tricky. I'm married now. So that's how I got into SPF. I was given the role of just interning, being with the senior pastor, working around with him, learning things from him. Over the years, then they paid for me to start a university, a global university at my Bible school now, and I finished. At the beginning, I struggled. It was a different system. And many people have struggled because it requires self-discipline and self-control, which was hard at that time. But one day I decided, yeah, let me finish this thing. And I finished the degree. I think I graduated in 2019, just before COVID. Yeah. Then I graduated in 2020. Yeah. Global also was very important. I think apart from the reading of books about theology, this now helped me place things in an orderly way in my mind, and also see the reasoning behind the conclusion that most people know. So you probably know the Trinity is a reality. You don't know how that came about.
How that came about, the Trinity. Yeah, that's a controversial topic in Christianity.
That's what Bible school helps you come to terms with. That you see, this is not a new thing. It was debated before. These were the arguments. You can hear them now. Yeah. So Bible school was important to me, and I encourage anyone who is in ministry
to study the Bible.
Because we need people who are well educated, because
for sure,
your congregational members are more educated than you.
Actually, that's the shift that's happened in our society, especially as young people, because of the internet and everything. Everyone's learning.
It's fact checking, yes.
So fact checks every time.
Yeah. So I think that's a realization you need to know. And these stories are, the Holy Spirit will teach you all things, yes, through people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, kabisa. So Bosire, we've heard about your story, and I think the reason why I wanted us to do your story first was for the audience to get to know you, to get to know, to hear your story, to get and know your credibility. So that when eventually we talk about the issues that we face in modern society, us as the young generation, they can actually be able to tell where you're coming from. Tusianze tu hivyo unaona. So I'm super excited for the other episodes we're going to do. And I'm super happy that we've done this. I'm super happy that the first and the second part it's been super fun to shoot with you. So the audience, mkuwe ready for other episodes. You can send the questions that you want me to ask Bosire. I feel like the church needs this. I think this is another ministry. Sitaki kusema ministry bana. Mimi Bosire. Mimi nikaa wewe, mimi nataka kuhepa. Sitaki kusema ministry. But I feel like the church needs this, and as a Christian, I'm a podcaster too, but first things first, I identify as a Christian. I think I want people to see that, and people to see where we're coming from whenever we ask these questions. Ukienda huko nje msaki kuuliza kitu fulani about your faith, you're able to answer and to see where you're coming from, so that it's not just a faith that people say, most people, especially as this young generation, ini kitu tumeletewa na wazungu. So I think we're going to go through the depths of that, and I think that's what I really want to talk about the next time we do an episode. God willing, we'll do that. I think the main thing I can say, I've said the highlights. So the highlights may sometimes misrepresent the person, but there are many valleys and troughs in the story. Not a perfect person. Nimefanya mistakes zangu, so maybe it will come out in answering the question. Exactly. That's why nimesema authentic conversations. Like this is not easy like someone or something. This is just two people who are trying to understand God and seeing how He affects everything in their lives. Because also me in the podcaster, like a lot of people wanted, like there was this idea pia nianze a Christian podcast, equal like mostly Christian, but people were like, no, Nesh, just sit down, chill, and make it as wide as it can so that people can relate. And I think that is, you have a better impact. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think you have a better impact when people see their faith through your conversations. Kuliko kuambia tu say, hey, Christian. Just realizing that this is a life like yours. Normal people who are trying to understand God, and trying to understand the issues in society and what He wants us to do. In a fallen world, through sinful people like us. So, hopefully you guys will enjoy. I think the next time tutakuwa nafanya episodes I'll caption it with Mkristo Flani. I want it ikuwe brand ya Bosire. The more interesting kabla ikuwe Benzol Bosire ikuwe Mkristo Flani with Mkristo Flani. So thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do what I want to do, and peace out everyone. Shukran. Subscribe bana. Subscribe to the channel bana. Yes. Muna watch like I'm subscribe. Yes sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.